Back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive. We will get Tim Brando as soon as we can.
Damn.
We're watching an old-timers Mets game here, and Ben brought it up about good old-timers. How about the Mets versus the Yankees in old-timers?
Yeah, because they're doing Mets versus Mets old-timers.
I don't want to see old guys from the same team play each other.
Yeah.
We know that they were all good at one time. Now they're old. But
I just want to
let's see
last time.
Subway Series between some old goats on your side versus us.
Running it back one more.
Yeah.
This one's for the World Series rings.
Now, for some guys like Doc Gooden, who do you play for? Or do you have that half uni going on?
Ooh.
You know? And if you do the Yankees-Red Sox, you got what? Johnny Damon, Wade Boggs. You got
That'd be cool.
Mike Torres. I'm trying to think of some of the guys that went both ways.
Roger.
So, Roger Clemens, good one.
This would
Good
go on
one.
and on. And I say, first 5 innings, one team, then you flip a coin, see what it lands on. You're on the other team next.
There you go. There you go. Who would we most like to see?
I think it would be so cool to have the steroid era guys in there.
Wow.
Like, Clemens would be fun.
A lot of
Bonds
them
would
aren't
be
doing
fun.
anything right now.
A lot of them will be like, "Oh, let me prove."
I'll tell you who could still hit. Jose could still hit.
Oh, Jose's there, and
He still looks
a
great.
phone call.
I bet McGuire could still hit.
I have a friend when I was out west this past week that went to Las Vegas to Jose Canseco's car wash. Jose was there and signed an autograph for him.
That's awesome.
I said, not surprised.
Was it a nice car wash?
He didn't really talk about the car wash.
Oh.
He was just bugged out that Jose was there.
Did you have any memorabilia there?
No, he was. He just thought it was weird that it was painted in Oakland A's colors. It was green and gold. But just to have, because he tells us all the time whenever he calls.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, come on by. I'll be here signing autographs. Like, okay, yeah, right. No, he is. He's there at that car wash.
Yeah,
just
we
hanging.
did get Jose in. I just talked to him. I said Happy Thanksgiving to him over Thanksgiving. So, we could get him on anytime.
I wonder what Jose does for Thanksgiving.
We could ask him.
I just imagine it's him and Ozzy screaming at each other at some really
I
expensive
think
restaurant.
Ozzy's in Miami.
They don't get together for the one day?
They might. They might. That would be interesting. All right, let's talk. Tim Brando's not here, but let's talk about the way we see this right now. The college football rankings coming out, obviously, later on after our show is off the air, and it's looking. We've already seen the coaches poll: Georgia, Michigan, TCU, USC. I contacted Rodney Pete, who used to play for USC. He now works out in L.A.
Sure, he's happy right now.
Oh, he's very happy. He's going to join us next week when he comes back from Japan. I did not know this. His son's studying abroad in Japan, so that's why he's over there right now. But I think TCU and USC, to me, are the biggest shockers. I think Michigan beating Ohio State, Georgia has been a powerhouse since Kirby Smart got there, leaving Alabama. He's a hell of a recruiter. He's had amazing teams, but TCU and USC, honestly, this is why we need Tim Brando to talk about expanding this. I want to see them, no matter what happens from this point on, to be in the college football playoff.
Well, that's the questions I'm going to have for him, because it's going to be very interesting if one or two of those teams lose. Do you put a 2-loss Alabama team in before Ohio State or vice versa?
All right, Tim Brando is on the line now from Fox Sports, one of the best commentators over the last 40-plus years. Tim, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Tim.
I'm great. I'm as good as I can be, fellas. I'm getting ready to go to the Blue Field in Boise, which I understand might be white by the time I get there for the Mountain West Championship.
A little bit of snow.
So that should be fun. That's how I close out my college football season. I get a little time off before I come your way the end of the month for some basketball.
All right, let's start with what we were just talking about, Tim. TCU, USC, you've talked about expanded playoffs for the longest time. I think it would be a damn shame if one of those two teams gets knocked out of the final playoff with possible losses here at the end of the season in their conference championships. What are your thoughts on TCU and USC just being in the top 4 at this point?
Well, I think that it's certainly in the best interest of college football to have new blood in the playoff. And if granted, it's only two games, 4 teams in the semifinal, but to have a tradition-rich program like SC completely turn around in 1 year under Lincoln Riley, and to have TCU a team that had a legendary coach that took his team to a Rose Bowl and won it, fired at midseason last year, replaced by the SMU coach who in his first year takes his team to an undefeated regular season and wins the conference championship. To be 13-0 would be incredible. Okay, I mean it would be. I would be very pleased to see the new blood in there. Obviously, along with Georgia and Michigan, two teams that were in it a year ago. But I'm here to tell you that either one of those teams could lose. Utah is a hard matchup for USC. They gave USC their only loss of the year. Their defense is one of the best defenses in the Pac-12. Now, granted, they gave up a lot of yards to Caleb Williams and the USC offense, who didn't when they met before, but Utah won the game. And TCU's defense has really gotten better, and I had their sort of coming out party when they beat Kansas State the first time they played them 6 weeks ago in Fort Worth in prime time. Spencer and I had that game, and K-State had an 18-point lead at halftime, and they came back to win it. So, could either one of those two teams lose? Absolutely they could. And if they do, guess what? Pure playoff privilege wins out. It'll be Ohio State and Alabama that replace those two teams. And then you're sitting with Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and Alabama, which are the teams that we always get every stinking year with this 14 playoff. So it could happen. I don't call that chaos. I call that bias. I call that situational ethics on the part of the committee that continues to prop up teams with ratings better than they deserve because they are who they are. Okay, lose the way Ohio State did at home to Michigan and only drop to 5. Lose the way Alabama has lost on a couple of occasions in the SEC and only drop 4 positions from when they played before or what their ranking was before that loss. If that happens to either a TCU or or a team like TCU that's just not a brand name. Look, TCU is a Power 5 team. They're being treated like Cincinnati. It took them forever to get to 4, and they had to move them to 3 last week after 4 teams in the top 10 lost. So, it's either going to be chalk leading to a fresh and vibrant semifinals of the college football playoff, or it's going to be, a pair of upsets that get us back to square one, and we're going to be screaming again about why we need expansion sooner rather than later. That's what we're staring at here. Okay, the only way there's going to be chaos is if LSU were to do the unthinkable with 3 losses and knock off Georgia. They're not going to knock Georgia out of the playoff, but it could. They'd have to reconfigure the top 4 teams at that point.
Now, I don't know if you've had a chance to vent since Saturday, but we'll give you the chance now. Boy, if that LSU would have beat that lonely Texas A&M team, they would have been in a heck of a driver's seat this weekend.
Yeah, they would have. There's no doubt. But, to be honest, LSU barely got past Arkansas after that win at Alabama, so we should have seen the tea leaves, I guess, to some extent. And A&M, has great talent. I mean, my prediction at the beginning of the year about them being A&M, being the most overrated team in the country, was not an indictment of Jimbo Fisher, but it was an indictment of a media that rewards a pole position to teams that recruit 5 stars with NIL money. Okay, the only reason Texas A&M was propped up the way they were was because they had won all the recruiting battles, and these summertime rags and recruiting sites were ballyhooing how great Texas A&M was going to be. Well, there's no legacy in that. There's no 12th man in that. There's no investment in a program by just having 5 stars. And they were all young, and they had no quarterback. But, Jimbo had a team motivated, ready to play, and LSU came in with a laissez-faire attitude because they were playing a team with a losing record, and you see what happens. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we've had all these upsets and we have such parity in the college game now. It was somewhat predictable that what happened to LSU happened. You win some games that probably no one thinks you will, like the Alabama game, and then you lose a game that everybody expects you to win, like the one at A&M. Okay, they're still 18 to 22 years old. They may be making some money now, but they're still young guys, and the ability to sustain success is tough. But it's also what makes the game great. That's what makes college football, tremendous. And to some extent, it's why I believe that there's a really good chance that you and I and Dibbs are talking right now about the potential of TCU and USC. But in reality, the way this season has gone, if either or both lost, I wouldn't be surprised this weekend.
Talking to Tim Brando on the Bobby V Sports Tech hotline from Fox Sports. All right, so in your mind, is 6 teams or 8 teams or 12 teams, what would be the best scenario? And in your mind, is Tennessee better than Alabama or Ohio State at this point in the season?
No, they're not. No, Tennessee's banged up. They're without their quarterback now. No, Tennessee is not. I'd love to be able to say they were, so we could I could throw out my pure playoff privilege here. Here's what we need, fellas, and this is what I prescribe is going to happen. And I tweeted this out a little earlier today. The presidents want this expanded playoff sooner rather than later. Conference commissioners are all pissed at each other for poaching one another's teams. Feelings have been hurt. They've not been able to agree on anything. Now the president's saying, hey, you guys need to get your act together because we need to make some more money here. Okay, that's what these schools want. They don't want college football to have a better playoff. They just want the money that comes from having a better playoff. And the way to do that is by not having 12, but having 16. And just go ahead and go to 16 immediately. Why would you not give the networks that would be bidding for the opportunity, and more than likely it would be ESPN and Fox, why wouldn't you give them the nation's top 4 teams playing at home on campus the first week of the playoffs? Why wouldn't you do that? It would certainly make it more valuable. I mean, we're talking billions of dollars here, not millions, billions of dollars for this inventory. So the first week of the college football playoff, if we use today's AP college football rankings, Dibbs, you guys there? Are you listening to me here?
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yes,
you
we
ready
are.
For this?
Yep.
All right. In round one, 1 versus 16, Oregon State travels to Georgia. Okay? 2 versus 15, Michigan is at home at the Big House to Oregon.
I like that.
Okay? 3 versus 14, Florida State comes in to visit TCU in Fort Worth.
Flip a coin on that one. Yeah.
4 versus 13, K-State visits USC. Okay? A 12-5 matchup. Utah is at Ohio State. They played in the Rose Bowl last year. Pretty good game, if you recall. LSU would play Alabama again. Okay?
Wow.
Think about that.
Yep.
LSU-Bama rematch in Tuscaloosa in the 7-10 game. All right? Then you got, in the 6-11 game. That's the 6-11 game. The 7-10 game is
Tennessee Clemson.
At home against Clemson.
That's nuts.
Clemson comes in to play Tennessee. It's an orange battle. And then your 8-9 game is Washington and Happy Valley against Penn State. Now, who the hell is not going to watch that? I mean, even if you don't particularly care for college football, you might be inclined to watch that. And I'm sure the betting public would dig it. Why have the 4 teams that have worked so hard to play and get a home field opportunity? Why have them at home not playing and giving them a bye? You want the top 4 teams at home playing. It's just going to blow the ratings up, which in turn blows the advertising up, and means that the networks are going to be willing to pay you a hell of a lot more money for 16 than they would 12. And then, after the first week, you move and you start bringing in the bowls and playing those matchups as they move forward towards the national championship. That's what needs to be done. We know that they're going to expand it, so let's not expand it and then change it 2 or 3 years later. Let's just go to 16, and let's go there now. And with the ratings that they've gotten with the 14 playoff continue to be porous, and they have been for the semifinals because the games haven't been very competitive. The networks are going to come right back to the colleges and say, hey, you want real money here. You don't need to have teams 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the sidelines week 1. We're not extending this by another week by having those teams play. Let's play ball. You want the big money, give us the big teams, the marquee teams that help prop up our overall ratings so we can justify paying you billions of dollars. That's what I think needs to happen. I think it will happen. If it doesn't happen immediately, it's a shame. It should. That's my view.
It sounds like a lot of fun. We've been preaching this thing for just as long as you have, so we can't wait to see it. One thing that has been going on that I know you love and we love is the old March Madness tournament that it hasn't drowned out the conference championships like I think people thought it may back when they changed it, that you don't have to win your conference in order to get into the big dance. There's a lot of good teams out there in the country right now, Tim, and we love our UConn Huskies, and they had a great weekend up there at Oregon at the Phil Knight Invitational. There's a lot of other good ones we got to see, though, over Thanksgiving. Who's jumped out at you early in the season on the college men's basketball side?
Well, I'd say Rick Barnes' Tennessee team was impressive. That was, what they did to Kansas, that was pretty impressive to me. I'd seen Kansas with my own eyes in their opener while I was at KU a few weeks ago for the goalposts to come down when they became bowl eligible. I mean, Kansas is still really good. They didn't look very good because Tennessee played defense and made them look bad. Purdue, obviously, with Zach Edey back and the quality team that Matt Painter has, that's an impressive basketball team. The Big Ten and the Big 12 are the two best conferences. The Big East takes a little bit of a hit. Obviously, a couple of their best players not playing for Neptune. I think Villanova will right the ship, and I'll be up there to see your team on the 20th against Georgetown, and then I have Villanova and St. John's at the Finn the following night with Raft. So Raft and I are together on the 20th and 21st of December, and I'm fired up, looking forward to that. But I'll get a little bit of a Christmas and New Year's break before get rolling in the Big Ten and the Big East after that. But those are the teams that jump out. I mean, the Zags are still the Zags, with Timmy and so many of those guys back. They are a fantastic basketball team, but you almost feel like you're leaving, people out because a lot of teams are playing great basketball right now. I think maybe the better question is the Villanova story real? And I'm telling you, no, I don't think it is. I think they will get it back together. That was a gauntlet for that team to have to play without their two best, and in the aftermath of losing, let's face it, one of the top three coaches in the sport over the last decade. You gotta understand that, and I do think that Neptune will be fine. They just need, they needed a softer schedule to start, and that wasn't coming because they're Villanova. But I do think that some teams that maybe are lying out there in the weeds that you don't think about. Everyone knows Ohio State is good, Michigan State is good, but when you see a team like Iowa, as I have, and I know Keegan Murray is gone, Chris Murray is the goods too. About the only difference between those guys is one's right-handed and one's left-handed. And I tell you another team in the Big East, fellas, St. John's, if they stay healthy with those two guards, with Carbello, the transfer from Illinois, teaming up with that mighty Mike that's been back there, Posh Alexander, if those two guys stay healthy, that's a dynamite team that could be waking up the echoes, in the five boroughs. No doubt in my mind.
All right, so
Also, Soriano is a beast, He's not Sanogo yet, but Soriano has lost some weight and can play more minutes, and he is a beast offensively for them right now.
All right, what are you having for Thanksgiving down in the Bayou?
Well, we had our usual, and I had to get out on Thursday, so we did it on Wednesday. We had the Cajun fried turkey, baby.
Nice.
With heavy-duty dressing and, Old South, man. We don't do the stuffing stuff that you guys in the Northeast do. That's sort of holier-than-thou stuffing. We're dressing in gravy, baby. Dressing and gravy. And we got Cajun fried turkey, baby. So that just means we have to really stop eating for maybe a month, not just 2 weeks. You guys stop eating for like 2 weeks, I know, Dibs. But for us, it's like a month, the ever-expanding Jamar Rubies by without the belt that we used to see the ads for with Johnny Carson, that's about all I can fit in right now. They may be running a piece for me on Instagram. I might have my first real strong endorsement of my clothing now being Tim Brando's clothing, courtesy of Omar the Tent Maker.
Well, God bless you, brother.
Good
Thank you
luck on
so
that.
much. Safe travels, Tim, and can't wait to see you up here.
Thank you, Tim.
Same to you guys. All the best.
All right. Thank you,
Merry
Tim.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Absolutely. That's Tim Brando, everybody from Fox Sports. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back with First Dibs question of the day.